Welcome back to Dubty Breeze for another episode of Building Mandalore and Lego. Last week I worked on the actual forges and the central pillar here, which is going to act as a support for the roof section eventually as well. This week I'm going to start off by trying to move this rock work. So I'm going to take the whole mills plate up to my desk, put it on its side, and then try and peel off this section just here. It is going to take a little bit of work because it's integrated into the wall, so I just need to be careful how I do it. Then what I want to do is build a wall on here, which is a lot more accurate to what you see in the Mandalorian. And then I'll put the rockwork either above it, or I might put it across that section just there. So let's move the mills plate and let's see how it goes. And that's the rockwork all stripped off, and it did come off in quite big chunks. So I'm hoping that I'm going to be able to put it back on in sections again. But let's start rebuilding all of this up now using a wall technique and see how that looks. Here is the first mock attempt of doing the lines that you get around Mandalore. The jumper plate there will be in dark bluish grey, as will all of these plates here, and obviously the orange won't be there as well. So I'm just seeing what works. And on the back it's using hinge pieces and the modified plates or brackets, whatever you want to call them. So there's a whole host of pieces that go into this just to get it those little details on there. So I'm just going to change over the parts here so that it's all the right colour, see how it looks as a section, and then if it does look good, then I'll integrate that in the wall that's going over the back there. Here is the first attempt at the snot technique used to get the shapes around here, and there are quite a few gaps there. You're not really going to notice it that much from here, which is the sort of angle you're going to be getting. I have tried experimenting with numerous different plates, brackets and all sorts of things, especially these kind of things, but I can't quite get it spot on. I think the width of the part here on the end of the focus, the width of that part there is probably the same as both sides where the little gap is, but yeah, it's not quite going how I would hope it was. So yeah, I will carry on experimenting just a little bit more and see if there's any better solution for that. And here is version 2, and a little bit happier with this. I've put the 45-degree angles 90 degrees the other way, so they're now the studs on the side as opposed to either the top or the bottom, and it's working out a little bit better. Still got the two gaps, one up there and there. It's a little bit closer down the bottom there, but all in all it is a lot snugger fit with that. So that is possibly the way that I'm going to go with it. Here is the first attempt of the lines on there. Still need to put the plates in here, which is the opposite way round to that, and I have come up with this here. This would be the way I'd have to do it, as opposed to the way it is at the bottom. However, I'm just realising I've done this wrong. Surprise, surprise. These are not wide enough and the gap here is too wide. So I've got to strip that all back down and we'll try again. And there are the two shapes, all with the tiles in between the gaps, and really pleased with how it's looking. Especially when you come around from this side, you can't see the gaps that well at all, so that's all good there. All you need to do is carry on building the wall all the way around here, decide what I'm going to do on this section, and I think I will be using some creative license on that part and have a doorway of some description on there. In the episode of The Mandalorian where you see this, the forges go so far back, and obviously I haven't got all the room to do that, so I'm just going to have some sort of doorway and then do the rock work all the way along there. So let's get that wall built up of some description. We'll look at putting that rock work back on the top of there. And there's the outer skin of the wall, all up to the same height as the front section here. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to put some plate along the top of here in dark bluish grey, and I'm going to use the wedge plates that go in and out, similar to effect to what I've done in the past on like the Batcave water section and also Arkham Asylum. And then I'm going to build the rock work coming out of it using those segments that we removed from the bottom bit earlier on. So let's see how well that goes all back together, and then once we've done that, I'll work out what I'm going to do along here. At the moment I'm considering having rock work coming up to that part there, as opposed to just doing it grey all the way up. If not, I want to try and find some other design to put on here just to break it up, because it's looking very plain around here. As you can see, I've put some masonry bricks down there back to front, so they got the ribbed effect as opposed to brickwork effect. But it would be nice to have something. But yeah, let's carry on building, and we'll check back in once we've had a go putting that rock work back up. And here is the start of the rock work, and as you can see, these sections here, the bit on the end there and down here, those few bits, these are all chunks that did survive. They're in different positions. That one previously was going upright, but yeah, I'm happy overall with the look of it. And once everything's in here, I think it's going to look a lot better. But let's carry on building that rock work up and see how much more we can get done. And there is the rock work all levelled off at the top, and at the moment it's 39 bricks from the bottom to the top. It may go 1 or 2 bricks higher, however I need to work out how I'm going to be attaching the central forge here into the rock work there. So I just leave that as it is for the time being. Around the back here, I'm probably going to continue with a light bluish grey up to here and have it coming all the way along, and then again on this side as well. But what I'm going to do now, I'm going to bring the forge over that we made last week, pop it in the centre, look to see how it's looking size-wise with the cylinders on the bottom, and work out whether or not I actually need to shrink those a little bit. So let's bring it over and see what it looks like. And here is the forge in the centre of the chamber here. And I think it could possibly do with these sections just being shrunk by a couple of studs. I think it's going to make it feel a little bit better size-wise, especially as I've got to put the hexagons around the bottom of these forges. So what we're going to do now, I'm going to just remove all of these sections here, and then I can make a start on doing the revised size of those. Due to the style that I've made these, it's quite easy just to break a couple of bits, pull it out, and then just squeeze it into the correct size again. So it shouldn't take too long at all to do. Here is the revised lower part of the forge, and it's about 2 studs narrower than what it was previously. And this was the old top section which went on it, and as you can see, the dish there is a good 2 studs narrower than what the plate that I'm now using on the top of this is. So it's going to enable me to put all 3 of the forges within the Great Forge room, and it's going to free up a little bit of space either side. Now what it has meant is I've had to reduce the size of the pillar here. Obviously with this one being on here at the moment, by the time I've added all the details to the sides of it, it would have been probably protruding the actual diameter of this lower section. So this is what I've come up with since, which is using a load of the bracket pieces kept together by the plates, a similar technique to that, but not using the snot bricks. And here is one of the Great Forges all completed and ready to go into the Great Forge. I'm really happy with the details I've managed to get on that. I think it's going to look really good once all three of them are made up and put in there. So let's move this over to the mock and see what it looks like. And here is the forge inside the Great Forge room. And really happy of how this is all starting to come together now. I think once I've got the other two of these put in place, I think it's going to look really good. With the floor, I'm going to go for a dark bluish grey, and I'm going to tile it. And I've got a load of the 6x6 tiles, so I think they'll look pretty good having those on the floor. And the hexagonal shape, I think it might be, that goes around the bottom of the forges. I'm not sure what colour I'm going to do those in yet, whether or not to break it up a little bit and go for light bluish grey or do dark bluish grey. We'll have to wait and see what looks best on there. Next week I'm going to carry on building all of the rock work around the edges here and the walls, as well as getting those last two forges, the lower sections, all made up. And then once I've done that, I can continue to build up here, and then it'll all be connected at the top eventually on there. But this forge is going to be quite the process. Need to still put the wires in for the light. So again, now that I've got this, I know that the size is right on here. Again, next week I can get that all put through underneath the base plates there. So that's all going to be good. But all in all, this mock is really starting to come on size-wise. And from this angle here, you can really see the height that's starting to come in. And bearing in mind, this is just the lower section of the Mandalore mock. The buildings themselves are going to be twice the height of what's already here. So at the moment, I think I'm up to about 40 bricks in height, and the buildings themselves are going to be at least 80, possibly 100 bricks high in total. So it'll be good once I've got the forge all sorted out, and then start doing the tunnels and the other parts that we actually see in the Clone Wars, which will be really nice. This is based off of the Siege of Mandalore, and so far all of the parts I've done are things that we would have seen in the Mandalorian. But I think it's going to be worth it once it's all done. Anyway, that's all we've got time for. Hope you've enjoyed this update. If you have, please give us a big thumbs up. If you haven't already done so, please consider subscribing to the channel and hit that notification bell so you don't miss any future content on the channel. And please share it with your family and friends. Anyway, thanks for popping on by. See you next time. Bye for now.